The iPhone SE is a f***ing joke, and I'm tired of pretending like it isn't. Apple announced plans to release the iPhone SE again in 2022, and it's the exact same thing. Now before people come at my throats telling me about the A15 Bionic Super Titanium chip, look at my face. Does it look like I care? People online are always talking about chipsets and specs and all that stuff, but to the average consumer, I doubt that it even matters. When I go out looking for a phone, I'm looking for something that works and that works well. So if I have to deal with any bit of nonsense with a phone I spent hard-earned cash on, you can bet your money I'll be complaining about it. Plus, it's not like the SE was something for power users anyway. It never was and it never will be. For the first generation, the SE was marketed for people who didn't want to pay $500 for the iPhone 6s and wanted a small form factor. So all this chipset nonsense can really hop out the window. Apple has been killing it with software optimization in recent years, so you really don't have to worry about your iPhone running like a 2007 BlackBerry. So let's deep dive into why the iPhone SE has become the biggest joke of a phone in recent years. When looking at a phone, no matter how good it is, you've got to look at the price. So to fully understand my problem with the new iPhone SE, let's take a look back at the history of iPhone SE prices and what you got for that amount of money. Now, the iPhone SE first gen, when it retailed in 2016, was $249 at its base 32GB model, maxing it at 128 gigs at $299. Comparing that to the iPhone 7, the phone that released later that year, its base model was 32 gigs at $649 and $849 for its max storage at 256 gigs. So let's get this straight. For 35% of the price, you basically got yourself a solid iPhone, complete with a headphone jack, a modern design that holds up still even in 2022, and a solid but not perfect screen. And for all of my viewers with smaller hands, Apple has you covered because this phone is tiny in comparison to the phones of today. Now don't get me wrong, the iPhone SE first generation wasn't perfect, but it was sure good enough for the price. The iPhone SE second gen is the one I currently own, and God, I wish I didn't. The price got hiked up to around like $399, which I initially wasn't mad about until I saw the prices going around for used iPhones like the iPhone XS, which look many times modern than this design. Here I have the iPhone 6s, and here's the iPhone SE. Excuse the terrible video quality, I'm recording on my LG K51, which the camera's pretty bad on this phone. But anyway, these are the two phones here. The iPhone 6s, as you can see, so it'll focus, iPhone 6s, pretty good condition overall, aside from the fingerprints on it. Proceeds to drop the phone. And then you have the iPhone SE, I got a couple cracks on here, but it's alright. So, size comparison, exactly the same. Camera placement, pretty much the same. Button placement, pretty much the same. Charger placement, pretty much the same, except one has the headphone jack and one doesn't. Yay. And, yeah. See? Same phone. Now, they could have at least made the bezels a little bit less prominent. I mean, for someone who uses their phone mainly to watch videos, these massive bezels aren't much of a help. Now, don't get me wrong though, bezels are good to an extent. Yes, I would like to hold the phone. Getting rid of the bezels makes it impossible to hold a phone. I remember I had a Samsung phone a couple of years ago and I loved it to death. But I hated those curved edge displays that Samsung put on their phones. Whenever you grip the phone, the display would go haywire, and the only way you could fix it was by getting a case. It's nice to have somewhere to hold the phone, and if you take away the bezels, it just becomes quite hard to grip a phone properly, making it more susceptible to drops. Now let's compare the price of the iPhone SE 2020 to the rest of Apple's 2020 lineup. The baseline iPhone 11 started at $699, and the base model iPhone 12 costed $799. Now for those of you who like the smaller form factor, you could also consider the iPhone 12 mini, which costed around $699. Looking at these numbers here, the iPhone SE 2020 was clearly the best, cheapest alternative that you could get. But then you have to consider the used market. I hear a lot of people knocking down sites where you can buy stuff used. To that I say, why buy a used car if you can buy new? Or why buy a used college textbook if you can buy a new one? Stuff is expensive nowadays, and with the current inflation crisis going on, it's really hard to justify throwing away all of your money on a new device, especially if you're a student just trying to get by or simply just want those exclusive Apple features without paying that exclusive price. That being said though, the iPhone SE 2020 could have been so much more. First of all, since this product is being targeted to people on the budget, maybe include a case in the box, or a wall charger, or maybe bring back the headphone jack. Like, as someone who was on the budget and needed an iPhone in a pinch, guess who was stuck with buying a wall charger, screen protector, case, and headphone adapter from Five Below. Now, there's nothing wrong with Five Below, it's a good place to get stuff for cheap. The problem is, it's cheap. I mean, for $399, come on Apple, they're just taking the cheap route at this point. Now, if Apple really wanted to cut down on carbon emissions, how about they stop producing those little packets full of paper and stickers that they put in the box? The Amazon rainforest would sure enjoy that. Take a listen. That's the forest agreeing with me. The camera performance is alright. I mean, I made most of my videos using this camera, but if you don't have good light, your photos are 100% gonna look like garbled trash. And for most people that isn't exactly a problem, but I mean, come on, for $400, for that price you could buy a budget Android phone, accessories for said Android phone, and buy a second-hand iPhone on the side for all your iOS activities. Now, I'm knocking this phone really hard, but again, I've seen way too many low-cost Android phones that could easily knock this phone out of the water, so I'm not just going to sit around and kiss Tim Cook's ass. Now, my final thoughts on this phone, it's decent. This phone was, currently, whatever, it's pretty decent. Apple's software optimization comes in to save the day again. The camera is better than what I gave it credit for. The battery is decent, and the screen is plenty good for what I paid for it. But again, for the price I paid and the time that I got it, I could have easily waited a little bit, saved some money, and got the iPhone 12 mini, since I really like the small form factor of these phones. But then again, you know, as they say, hindsight sure is 2020. What the f is that? Now, warning. I haven't watched any tech reviews or have held the phone in my hand, but here's the thing. I don't need to. I don't need to do any of that. They've hiked the price again, albeit just $30, but what are we getting? The same thing as 2020. Same form factor with the massive bezels, except as 5G, slightly different shades of black and white, whoop-de-frickin-do, some new camera features thanks to that A15 Bionic chip, better glass, and 4GB of RAM instead of 3. This phone is an absolute f***ing joke, especially considering all of that should have been included the first go around. Now, Apple had the opportunity to give the SD edges like the 12 line, reduce that bezel, add a second camera, something to give this phone substance, besides just an incremental update on the inside. An idea that could work is having the fingerprint sensor embedded in the power button to give the phone that full screen look that people want, but it wouldn't sacrifice the form factor, and honestly, I'd take that with a plastic back as opposed to a glass back in a thoughtless iPhone. I mean, we've been led to believe by these tech reviewers that plastic isn't as premium as glass, but I'm sure there's not a peep from this crowd about how susceptible glass is to scratch plastic. This is the LG K51, and the funny thing about this phone is if you look at it, it's so intact. The back is intact, but if you look at the front, it's just absolutely cracked. And that's one of the benefits of plastic. Plastic doesn't break as easy as glass. And, so when you get these glass sandwich phones, we end up seeing a lot of these cracks on the back and the front, which makes the phone really dangerous to hold. Now, literally, everyone has been shitting their pants since they heard the words A15 Bionic. Like, get a grip of yourself. Apple's gotten so good with their software optimization that A11, A12, A13, and A14 perform almost the exact same to the naked eye. And to people who don't care about the latest specs, it wouldn't even matter. Now, if you do care about the latest specs, then the iPhone SE was never for you in the first place, because you'd be more aware of the other phone offerings on the market. Now, Apple gave us a whole bunch of numbers. I never liked numbers, I was bad at math, but Apple gave us a whole bunch of numbers about how good the iPhone SE 3rd gen compared against the iPhone SE 2nd gen, the iPhone SE first gen, the iPhone 6s, the iPhone 7, iPhone 8 Plus. But really, does it matter? Does it really matter? Now, if you have like an older phone, iPhone 6s, and you really want that form factor, then yeah, maybe you can, maybe you should upgrade to the iPhone SE 3rd generation. But this could have been changed in so many ways. Now, the reason why I'm just so uppity here and just ranting about this phone is because it was just so clearly a cash grab. Everybody on tech YouTube, and this is what kills me, everyone on tech YouTube just goes absolutely crazy. And when I say everyone, I'm talking about the general majority of people. They literally come in their pants when they hear the words new iPhone, new budget iPhone, because they see people in the comment section, they're like, can you review more budget iPhones, etc, etc, etc. And now Apple is really tailoring to that market, and we love to see it. But come on, this is just sad. I've seen so many leaks and rumors that I can bet you would not cost that much to make. What they're doing is they're using the same chassis, they're using the same design, the same everything, and just adding these little things, better chipsets and whatever. Which to some people that might be good, but to people like me who are on a budget but don't want to be stuck with nonsense, I mean, come on. Now, there's a market for this. Don't get me wrong, I 100% get the people who had the iPhone SE 2020 and are considering upgrading to the iPhone SE 2022. First of all, the home button and Touch ID. Not everyone likes to be swiping around on their phone like a lunatic. No one wants to be doing that. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the iPhone home button, it works. And Apple has one of the best Touch IDs, or fingerprint scanning, if you want to be generic with the term. They have the best fingerprint scanner on the market. You can tap your phone with your finger. Well, you can't actually tap it anymore because it's Apple. You have to press on the button, but still, you press the button and within seconds you're into your phone. 1, 2, 3, bam. Some people miss that. Some people miss, this design from 2016. People don't want to be, having a full screen display where they can't touch the phone. Trust me, I get it. But are you really going to tell me that this phone couldn't have a little bit more variety? Let's look at the iPhone 5C. The iPhone 5C was also a bit of a budget offering, plastic back, but they had so many colors, they had so many different variants. It was really cool. The iPhone SE just doesn't have that. It doesn't have that same charm. It doesn't have that same magic. It has none of that. So when I see this phone, I'm thinking this phone is bland. It's an iPhone. When you have so many other phones on the market from Oppo, Xiaomi, all these different companies that have all these amazing phones. They have phones that are built out of carbon fiber, phones that have smoked glass backs. They have all these different designs, and it just makes you wonder, why, Apple? But anyways, I'm going way off script. Let's compare Apple's price model to the iPhone 13 model. Now, comparing Apple's price model for the iPhone 13 versus the iPhone 3rd gen, it's clear that the iPhone SE performs far worse, but that's because the iPhone SE hasn't changed its price model. However, the new iPhone SE has. Now, let's be real, it's only $30. But at the same time, do you know what you could buy for $30? A nice case for your phone and maybe a screen protector. Case offerings from Specs, Beacon, UAG, and the rest of the crew are inexpensive yet offer great protection for your iPhone. Now personally, I don't use a case on my phone because, Apple's build quality is great. But take a look at my phone. It has a couple of scratches, a couple of cracks, actually numerous cracks, chips on the aluminum side. It's a complete train wreck. So if you really want to take care of your phone, really want to treat your phone well, then I do suggest putting a case on it. Don't be stupid like me. There's a reason I have a YouTube channel. Come on. But anyway, all in all, I feel like what started as a phone with a brilliant price to phone ratio has so slowly just evolved into this careless cash grab. and it's just grabbing unsuspecting people in, and sadly, I was one of those people. And if you're someone who doesn't care about cameras, performance, design, and only use your phone for phone calls, iMessage, FaceTime, and the occasional social media experience, then this phone might be for you. If you like the home button, and if you like Touch ID, then this phone might be for you. But otherwise, steer clear from it, and either buy a used phone, save up for a newer iPhone, or go to one of the more affordable offerings from Oppo, Xiaomi, and the rest of the lot. Because realistically, this phone is for a very niche market, and I feel like if you use it, you're just gonna feel restrained. You're gonna feel very restrained, and you're gonna see all these little phones on the market. You're gonna see the iPhone 13, the iPhone 14, which is gonna come out maybe in September or something like that. And you're gonna see all these phones out. You're gonna be like, man. And maybe you're not gonna be like that. Maybe you are gonna be satisfied with your purchase. Let me know. If you have the iPhone SE 2020, be sure to let me know. If you have the iPhone SE 2022, also let me know. I won't be getting this phone. I will be getting a different phone because I feel like I wasted $399 on the 2020. But everyone has their own opinions and they're entitled to their own thoughts. Anyways, I've been me and you've been you. This is a rant. Until next.